ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. In 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. In 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. At 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council.
Hello everyone. We will wait more 2 minutes as more participants are joining us. So stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. At 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC. Share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council.
All right, the wait is over. We'll be starting the session shortly. Just allow me to share my screen again. Here we go. I hope my screen is visible to you all. And thank you very much for joining for today's session. And I welcome you everyone to GSDC Certified Learning and Mastering SRE for Scalable and Resilient System with a theme that is driving reliability and scalability with SRE best practices. My name is Preetham. I'm going to be host for this session. If you need any assistance during this session, you can reach out to me over the chat box and I'll be taking care of it. Also, would love to tell you all, we have scheduled this DevOps, DevSecOps, and SRE for next generation reliability webinar series from 1st September, which is happening till 12th September with the time slot that is 8:30 a.m. Central and 9:30 p.m. Singapore time. So please do join us as we'll be having only one remaining session that is happening tomorrow. So please do join us for the remaining session as well. So I would love to inform you all that today we'll be having Mandy Walls with us. She's a DevOps advocate at Pagay Duty, and she'll be presenting the topic that is automating incidents response and resolution in SRE. So before she could start with her session, I would love to introduce our hosting organization, GSDC. So we known as Global Skill Development Council. We are vendor agnostic, vendor neutral, and we are globally recognized certification body. Also, we are accredited by ANSI and ABICB. Also, we do have certification portfolio that is more than 100 plus, and we have certified more than 250,000 professionals worldwide. And we are associated with 500 SMEs. Those are subject matter expert, industry experts, and they are affiliates from top universities like Stanford, Harvard, and MIT. They work with us closely to design our deliverables, and we are associated with 1,000 multinational corporates and 500 Fortune companies with us. And I'm very proud to inform you all that we do have 50 plus universities across the world who work with us. Also, I'm very proud to inform you all that we do have 100 plus authorized training partner across the globe. We have partners in Asia, Africa, Canada, America, and many other countries. So would love to thank you, those who have joined us through our training partner channel. If you're looking for any training program for yourself, I'll be sharing the link in the chat box shortly, so you can reach out to our training partners to inquire about the training programs that you're looking for. Also, special thanks to our official media partner, World Press Hub, for covering all our events and press releases. As I mentioned earlier in my previous slide, we do have 100 plus certification portfolio with us, which includes certification on generative AI, agentic AI, certification on learning and development professionals, certified instructional designer, HR professionals, PMO professionals, generative AI in project management, cybersecurity, risk and compliance, and certification related ISO. So on, if you're looking for any of the certification in order to upskill yourself, you can definitely reach out to our learning advisor to get more details and information on this. Also, you can explore our website, that is www.gsdcouncil.org, to check all the offerings that GSDC has for all of you. What all benefits that you'll be getting with the certification. So you'll be getting a lifelong membership with GSDC. You'll be getting certificate upgrade with that. You'll be having access to all our events, workshop, boot camps, and guess what? You'll be having an access to all our exclusive learning programs that we do provide. Along with it, you'll be getting implementation resources, speaker invites, and newsletter. So isn't it great? So do grab this opportunity and sign up yourself for these amazing certification programs that we do have. So without any further delay, would love to tell you all more about our today's speaker, Mandy. She is a developer advocate at Pagay, where she helps organizations on their IT modernization journey. With prior experience at Chief Software and AOL, she is an international speaker on DevOps and author of Building a DevOps Culture, published by O'Reilly. Please join me welcoming Mandy Walls. It's very lovely to have you, Mandy, today for this session. You can take the virtual speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pritam. Thanks for having me. All right, let me get my stuff shared here and we'll get rolling. All right, that should be coming through now. Yeah, thank you very much for that introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you are. Hopefully we'll have an interesting session for you. I have a lot of material to get through, so we'll get rolling. If you'd like to get in touch with me at any time, you can reach out to me. I'm currently on Blue Sky. If you'd like to email me, I'm mwalls@pagerduty.com. I'm not going to talk about PagerDuty, our products, or our platform. I'll mention some of our practices as we go through this, but if you do have questions about our product, or if there's things that you'd like to talk about in relation to PagerDuty, you can reach out to me over email, or you can join our community, and we can get you answers to any of the questions that you might have. In the meantime, I'm going to talk very broadly about automation, and then we'll go into detail about automation for incident response. And along the way, we'll cover some of the basics about incident response, because that's really where PagerDuty's main components lie, is in the structure of an incident response process and how all of that can work across your platforms. So thinking about automation, just sort of in a general way, automation really drives productivity for lots of workers across lots of different kinds of industries. It's not just for us in technology. It impacts people who work in lots of different places. Sort of the initial automation and a lot of where the practices sort of started came out of industrial industries, where you're looking at things like assembly lines and how to create physical products faster. And we do a lot of automation to help us create digital projects faster. So there's a lot of things that go into thinking about what we want to automate, how we want to automate it, and how that impacts the workers that are then involved. We want to focus on removing repetitive tasks, things that are kind of boring for humans, and giving our humans and our human responders during incident response more space and time to work on things that require human thought, that require creativity, maybe a little bit of nuance and reactions to the environment that the machines are not necessarily well suited to doing. So we automate in technology a lot of different pieces of our workflows, and that helps us reduce unpredictability. It helps us decrease costs, and it also decreases what we call toil. And we're going to talk more about toil in a minute, since we're an SRE focused program. Automation is really important for achieving scale and speed for our complex systems, because there's just so much going on. It's hard for a single human with two hands to do all of the work. So that's kind of what we're after. We know that automation already pops up in a lot of places in the software development lifecycle. I've been in the industry a rather long time. We are no longer in a place where we are hand rolling all of the tar balls to deploy software onto the production systems. Most of us are not doing that kind of work anymore, but we used to. And there's a lot of automation that goes into running tests and producing artifacts for deployment and all of those other kinds of things. When we get to the work that we do in production, folks get a little bit more scared about how we want to approach that and what we want automation to do. At the bottom of the line, like what is automation? What do we want to think about when we are thinking about, oh, I need to automate this stuff? We know we have all this work that has to get done. We have an idea for a piece of software or a feature for an existing piece of software, and that starts today, but it's weeks and potentially months before it gets in front of the users, depending on how complex it is. Along the way, we have lots of things that have to get done. We're writing the code, we're testing the code, we're deploying it maybe to a staging environment, we're doing some integration tests, we're doing some regression tests. It finally gets to production, after the production environment has been prepared through a number of other automated tasks, deploying infrastructure and putting the right controls in place. We have to make sure everything is deployed to the correct environment. We don't want to, as SREs, necessarily do all of this work ourselves, but our application developers don't necessarily have the time to dedicate to doing that work as well. And they don't necessarily have the time to dedicate to gaining the expertise to do it. And there was a time earlier in the cloud where it felt like a lot more folks were doing a lot more hands-on things with the cloud. But now that a lot of our environments have really caught up in complexity to on-premises, there's so much more to learn, and so many folks don't have the time to do that. So we want to get to a place where we're not slowing down our delivery of features to production because things are hard or complicated, that we get to a place where automation is helping us figure things out, get to some corner cases, and deal with all of the software that's coming down. I used to be a sysadmin in a prior role, and we would struggle with this to a great extent. We'd be supporting 2 or 3 sysadmins would be supporting hundreds of developers, and they're all working on 2-week sprints, and there's just code coming at you all the time, and you cannot keep up with that without automation. And we now have lots of opportunities to automate a lot of stuff in a lot of steps. We want to provide access to this in a safe way as well, so that we as SREs aren't standing in the way of things getting done in production. So we'll talk a bit about delegating automation a little bit later as well. So we're going to dig into the automation that we build for ourselves as operators or SREs or DevOps or cloud engineers or whatever your title happens to be. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we can do with that for helping other folks deal with that, because we're going to need all hands on deck when we get to incident response. So when we're thinking about automation, you've probably heard the word, and we have some assumptions about it. What we really want to do, we're going to take some manual processes that someone on our team runs piece by piece, line by line, character by character, and we're going to ask the machines to do that work for us. We're looking for tasks that machines can do well, things that aren't going to change and require lateral thinking or creativity. And we'll talk a little bit about AI later as well and how this plays in. But we're going to encode these things as an asset, right? As an artifact of the expertise that's already been collected by our team. And you can kind of think we're going to take all the learnings that people have in their heads, and we're going to extract those things out, and we're going to create these pieces of automation so that everybody can learn from that expertise, and that it's no longer sequestered into one particular person, especially when we get to incident response. I don't want to have to rely on the same expert every single time. They go on vacation, they have their own lives, they might resign and move to a different company, they might retire, they are not 100% always going to be there, but I need their expertise. So I need a way to capture that so that it is also then valuable for other users. Automation is really a key component then in the management of the complex systems that we have built for the modern infrastructure. There is so much stuff that goes into all of these platforms that it's impossible to know everything about all of it. But we have expertise, and we have experts, and we want them to share everything that they know. And it might be about our microservices architecture. It might be about the cloud platforms. It might be about a particular piece of third-party software or something internally developed. And we have all of this stuff that has to hang together that we need to know about when it comes to having problems in production. So to get things done, to do it right, we're going to rely on automation for a lot of our common tasks. And that's going to help us avoid mistakes. It's going to help us increase reliability, which is one of our focuses, right? As SREs, we want to increase repeatability, and we're going to talk more about reducing toil. But we also are going to use automation to build, test, and deploy software. It's there. We have some places where it's very comfortable to think about automation, and other places where maybe it's a little bit more uncomfortable for us to think about. But we want to make our tasks repeatable, reliable, and safe for everyone in the organization to operate, even if they aren't the original subject matter expert, because we don't know who's going to be available during an incident. And especially if you have like a long running incident, folks get tired and they need to take a break, and we need to keep things moving along. So automation can take a lot of different forms. You might have like a library of scripts and tools. It might be a set of YAML files that act as a template for other tooling that you've maybe purchased. It might be encoded in the configurations for your build server that maybe you have produced sort of a golden path for your application developers. These are all things that help us collect knowledge from our colleagues and store them in a place where everyone can use them, and they become sort of this amassed knowledge that the whole team can use and everyone in your organization can have access to. So before we get too far into anything else, let's dig a little bit into toil, since we are SREs. If you have not read Google's SRE book, that's a great place to start learning more about at least what Google thinks about SRE. I've heard they're publishing a new edition of that in the next couple of years, so that will be exciting. Things will get some updates. We'll love to see that. But they have a very specific definition of what they call toil. And the section on this is available online, and you can find it on Google's SRE website. When it comes to working in technical environments, they have this definition of toil, and different kinds of jobs have different kinds of toil. And this is really just for SRE people. So toil has 4 main characteristics that we want to be thinking about. And it can happen sort of anywhere in your workflow. And it does pop up sometimes in the kinds of things that we're going to talk about for incident response. So toil is work, number 1, that's manual, including manually running a script to accomplish a task. If you have a human that's sort of in the loop, just kind of pushing a button, right? That feels very manual. It's work that ends up being done by humans. It's reactive and sometimes very tactical in nature. It's not strategic kind of work. It tends to be, number 2, repetitive. They're tasks that we do over and over and over again. They just take up time. They are tasks that feel like they could be automated, but we haven't gotten there yet, or we don't have permission to do that yet, or it's just not part of the culture to automate things in your organization, but they look like they could be automated. And some teams, from a cultural perspective, hold on to repetitive tasks because there is a sort of look busy kind of mindset in their organization. So you can keep an eye out for that as well, where sometimes it feels like if it's not obvious that you're doing something, then you're not doing anything. We'll talk more about that in a minute as well. The third part there, toil scales linearly as the system grows. Whatever your volume metric happens to be, maybe it's monthly active users, maybe it is requests or queries or whatever it is. As that volume increases, so too does this kind of toil work. And you can think about maybe you're scaling your services horizontally, maybe with more containers, or maybe you have virtual machines, or whatever your processing power is. And all of those have to have a security update. And it's easy when you only have a few users and there's only a couple of instances. And as the service grows and becomes more popular, and that's great, that's what we want, it just becomes more complex and more onerous to then push out these updates. You're still sitting there waiting for the update to run, but you're doing it over many more instances. And that also ends up feeling like toil, right? So we're looking for things that are holding back our economies of scale, things that are holding back our ability to handle more and more volume, because that's then holding back potentially revenue streams from the services that we are deploying. They run for a reason, right? We want people to love them. We want people to pay for them. We don't want to necessarily have to beg for more personnel as they get bigger and bigger. We want to be able to leverage some tooling to help us deal with those. The last part there, number 4, feels kind of bad right? No enduring value. No one wants to be doing work that has no enduring value. We want to do work that has value, and work that leaves the system largely unchanged from the user's perspective. It just feels like, why am I doing this? A lot of it falls into things that are really system hygiene. We do have to do them. Security updates, resource allocations, any of those kinds of sustaining engineering kind of tasks. They do have to get done. It's like brushing your teeth or washing your dishes. Like, you do them all the time because they're being used all the time, right? So we have to keep up with those kinds of tasks. And that kind of falls into this toil category. The thing to remember about toil is it's not necessarily just stuff we don't like to do or stuff that's boring. It's a lot of these things that we do have to do for the health of the system. They just aren't necessarily the most interesting things we could be working on. And some folks do like having some of this stuff in their day-to-day. It feels a little bit like a mental palate cleanser. You're working on something really difficult for a couple of hours. You can't get this code to work, or there's a weird bug, or something's happening. And you can just take a step back, maybe take a little bit of a walk, get a fresh drink, and sit down and do something that resets your brain. Some repetitive work that you're like, I know how to do this. And it kind of resets your whole mindset. Like, yeah, I do know what I'm doing. Even if I can't solve this hard little problem right now, I have these sets of problems that are well understood, and I understand how to do them. And that can help folks sort of generate their enthusiasm back through some of these hard problems. So we keep them in mind. Because a lot of places we won't get to 100% automation of toil, and we'll talk about things that we can focus on as well. So some benefits for automation: dealing with our complex systems, right? The stuff that you run, the stuff that we run here at PagerDuty, we might have things that have similar components that look completely different. There's an infinite possible combinations for the things you can deploy to your production environments now, between open source and commercial software and stuff available in the cloud. Like, the combinations are infinite for how things get put together. So being able to, what we call rationalize, like think about how things are plugged together, we need some automation to help us do that. That is going to help us deal with how things get connected together. You'll think about things like service meshes or other components that are really driven towards helping us automate our knowledge about the systems, that will help us with some of these kinds of things. It's also there to help us cope with change. All of these components are going to have updates. We're going to want some of them at least, right? And some of them we're going to have because there'll be security updates. But the hard part is, like, they don't all happen on the same day. It's not like, okay, here's everybody's patch updates for Q3, and now we get to plan all of our upgrades. They come out all the time, and some might be multiple times a week, a couple times a day, depending on how fast or efficient the project happens to be. Open source in particular might go months, right, while someone's busy doing something else, and then the lead maintainer is back paying attention to it, and all of a sudden there's like 4 upgrades in a week. Like, there's lots of things to keep up with. So we need automation to help us do those kinds of things. So whether it's, helping us re-roll our container images, or actually sending deploys out to live systems, or whatever we're doing, we don't want to do that stuff manually because it happens all the time. We're also looking for automation to help us reduce mistakes. And this is a good one to think about when we're thinking about incident response, because you have maybe a run book for your system. It's just a list of potential commands to try when something's not working. And you might be logged into a number of different systems at the same time. And it's totally possible to make a mistake by just simply cutting and pasting into the wrong terminal window. Sometimes that's harmless, as the command won't be found. Other times it might be a disaster, right? When we get that sort of cutting and pasting mechanism out of our way, and we can deploy something that looks a little bit more automated, that's going to help us avoid some of those mistakes. It also avoids like skipping a line in the run book, or the command line's really, really long and it scrolls out the window and you have to like keep moving your mouse to get all of it. All those things are easy to miss. they're more difficult to leave out if we've automated something into a script. So we want to be thinking about how we can protect people when we're in a stressful situation to reduce as many of those mistakes as we can. And we've already talked about reducing toil, and we're definitely on that goal there. There are some potential drawbacks, and I'll just mention them before we get into incident response. So there's some things you can keep in mind. We'd love to be able to automate as many things as possible, automate everything all the time. We want to reduce all those errors and speed everything up and create all this extra time in our day simply by taking these boring tasks off our plate. But there are downsides. The first one, loss of expertise. We're also hearing this as part of the discussion for artificial intelligence tools. The issue really is, how do folks know how to do anything when all of their tasks are automated? And this has been a query in the systems engineering space since the late 1960s. There's been a lot of interesting research here in this space, especially around aerospace systems, around like power generation, especially in relationship to nuclear power. You have a lot of these plants that are built with a lot of fail safes, and you have like Homer Simpsons are sitting there watching the blinking lights, and like you hope they know what's going to happen or what is going on if that one light that never comes on comes on. And it's the same with the sort of things like automation. We have these scripts and you just blindly run them without knowing exactly what they're going to do, or don't necessarily have the knowledge to understand what they're doing. As SREs, part of our job becomes maintaining this automation over time. It will need to change. It will need to be updated. Helping our application engineers put those kinds of things together is how we flex our muscles and learn more about the system. It also helps us train up new engineers, new SREs who join the team to be able to say, hey, you're new, it's great, we're not going to put you on call, but here's the automation that we run, familiarize yourself with it. And for the first couple months that you're here, your job is to make sure that automation always passes the regression testing, or however your mechanisms work, so that as changes are made to the application, the automation stays updated as well. And that helps us cope with this loss of expertise that happens. It's not going to create deep experts in all of your systems, but it does give people a foothold to understand the architecture and your ecosystems. The second one is brittleness. This is really hard because so many folks don't have the time or resources to actively maintain their automation. We see this, unfortunately, all the time, where the application engineers, there's a lot more of them, right, than there are of us. And they're making changes all the time, and they've got a new library, or the runtime is upgraded, and they have all these things that are there, and we need new options, and there's a new behavior that's being weird, or something is happening. And unfortunately, if we have not done the work or dedicated the resources to keeping the automation up to date, the automation doesn't work anymore. And then we're kind of stuck. And you're like, okay, well, we used to have this script that would restart this thing, or we used to have this script that would clean out the cache on this thing, or it would restart the master and then restart all the dependencies, and we no longer have that working. And you want to make sure you don't get into that position. The last one is detachment from work. This kind of is a two-edged sword. A lot of it flows down from that loss of expertise, where folks don't necessarily understand exactly what their role is and what kind of work they're supposed to be doing. So this becomes a management issue, where your team managers or your leads need to be helping folks figure out where they fit, what they're supposed to be doing, and dealing with that even when lots of things are already automated. The second part of it, though, comes in from the outside, where someone looks at the team and says, well, they've got all their stuff automated. Why do we even keep them around? And unfortunately, it becomes kind of a management meme, right? And we do see then the bit rot that happens when you're not maintaining the automation, and you've also divested yourself of the folks who know how to maintain it, we'll say, right? So there's definitely problems there. So let's dig into how we leverage all of this to respond to incidents. If you have not participated in incident response in the past, I'll give you a bit of a baseline to work from that I will use to then talk through the things we automate. PagerDuty uses a 5-phase incident response process. We use a system called Incident Command, which was founded by some firefighters in California in the 1970s. If you work in an ITIL shop or you work in an ISO shop, you will have frameworks for responding to incidents that look similar to this, but might have different phases or different names to the phases. It all kind of comes down to the same sort of work. We're all doing the same things, we just have different names or terms for it. So our process starts with detection and prevention. Knowing that there's something wrong with the system may come from, say, your monitoring tools. It may come from your customer service department has a ticket or customer called in, or however you're doing those kinds of things. There's detection there that happens automatically based on your tooling and maybe thresholds that you've set and those kinds of things. Part of that can feed into what we call prevention, which we'll talk about in a minute, which is where automation really gets its chance to shine in this process, where we're hopefully getting to the point where we can restore customer experience before we have to alert a human responder. That there are certain components of the system that we know well enough to be able to sort of short circuit that whole process and say, oh, we know what that is. We know we have to run this piece of automation, and that will restore service to the customers. So we do that in the detection and prevention stage. If we do get to the point where we need some humans to take a look at things, we start with some triage. We are trying to diagnose the problem across the system. In some places, this is super easy, right? If you only have a couple of layers in your architecture, it can be fairly easy to find what's going on. If you have a very deep multi-layered architecture, you may have to phone a friend, right? You mobilize other teams to help you out. So if you are an application engineer or an SRE supporting sort of a middle layer, and it's making requests to more deeper backend layers that are failing, you have to call the folks that own those kinds of things and have them help you continue to diagnose the problem through the systems. And that may fall through several different teams, just depending on how deep the architecture is. So we kind of loop through that triage and mobilize until we have the folks that we need to actually fix what's going on. And hopefully that isn't a long, involved process, but without automation, it absolutely can be. Then we get into resolution, which is where we're going to make whatever changes are required to repair customer experience. In some places, that might be a rolling back of a change. In some places, it might be rolling forward of a fix. Other places, it might be configuration or some other kind of networking change or a failover or any kinds of things. So there's lots of potential here for automating actions so that I don't necessarily always have to call that one person who knows the system the best. And we'll talk more about that. The last part is learn. We say kind of glibly that every incident is a gift. We want to learn from every incident. We have sacrificed a bit of customer experience for our learning. Not necessarily on purpose. It just has happened that way. Incidents will happen. But we can't necessarily make sure that the same thing isn't going to happen because there's lots of contributing factors that make things very complex in distributed systems. But we do want to learn from the incidents that we do have so that folks know in the future, hey, this is what worked the last time. Take a look at this maybe first, right? And we'll get into that. So when we think about automating incident response, we have some specific goals, right? We have our goals for our regular automation, right? We're reducing errors and we're taking boring work off of people's plates and all that great stuff. When we get to incident response, we are under a time crunch. We want to restore the user experience as fast as possible. They might be paying customers. It might be if you work sort of in internal IT, there's a department that can't get their work done. Hopefully it's not payroll, right? Like there's lots of things that are super important that we want to make sure we are restoring their services as fast as possible. So we want to deploy automation in a way that helps us fix problems faster, right? Sometimes we can get there before the users even notice if our monitoring tools are good enough, and we have event-driven automation that can just restart that thing or clear its cache or whatever it needs. We want to avoid disruptions to our human responders if possible, right? More of those things that auto respond, that are event driven, so that if it's the middle of the night, I don't have to wake anybody up. If they're in the middle of flow, they're doing other work, like it gets people out of their attention, right? And some folks, quite honestly, aren't necessarily good at responding to incidents. They get very nervous and they have a very stressful response to it. If we don't have to disrupt them, we're in better shape. So we want to try and deploy some auto remediation components where we can. And again, we're offloading some of this manual work to speed up the recovery process, whether that looks like deploying new systems or rebuilding pods or whatever that is. We're not doing any of that manually. So when we're talking about incidents, we kind of use this term called critical work, the kind of stuff that we are doing during the incident response process that restores the user experience. And there's 3 categories for this. And it's not necessarily limited to what you do during incident response. We have this kind of work all the time, right? Well understood work is stuff that we know like the back of our hand. We've seen it before. It comes in all the time. And it's the boring parts, right? We looked at incidents across our platform in 2022 or 2021, maybe. Anything that came into our platform that paged a human responder. So a notification went out to a human. And we looked at how long it took for those incidents to be resolved. And something like 23% of them, almost a quarter of them, were responded and resolved in less than 5 minutes. So there's some problems there, right? Number one, some of them probably were auto-resolved by the monitoring tools, in which case the humans should never have been notified. Like that should just have been taken care of by the system. And so some tuning was needed for those. Another set of them, though, are these things that are well understood. A human got that page, looked at their phone and said, I know exactly what that is, resolved it, and then ran a script or whatever, and it fixed it. You're not doing deep triage work. You're not going back through that triage and mobilize phase in under 5 minutes, right? This is stuff that you already know how to do. You're logging in, running a couple of commands. Again, not necessary for humans to be involved, right? So we want to reevaluate those. We have a lot of other stuff that's we classify as partially understood, but you can also kind of think of it as partially fixable by automation, in that maybe we have some chronic issues in some services. We've tried restarting them automatically with some automation. It hasn't worked. And now it's time to involve a human responder. Those are fine, right? We get to a point where we know certain amount of the behavior, we're sort of expecting some of it, and we have some fixes for it. But if it goes beyond that, then it's time to call a human. Then the last part is the interesting stuff, the stuff we want to be doing, right? As humans, it's new and novel. It's interesting. There's something weird going on that we haven't seen before. And it's like, this is the stuff we want to be working on, right? So we want to take the well understood stuff and a bunch of the partially understood stuff sort of off our plates as much as possible, so that when the new and novel things do crop up, we're fresh and we're thinking about the system in better ways and not drowning under toil. So there's lots of ways we're going to dig into this. So looking at the things that we can do to automate steps of automation for detection and prevention, we're going to make predictable changes to the system. And this is where folks get a little bit nervous. But you probably already have most of these tools sitting around. You have a bunch of scripts that you're already doing this stuff with. You're just kicking them off with human touch. And you don't need to do that necessarily, right? Anything well understood that the team would perform manually anyway, you can make it triggered by an event. The event comes in from, say, a monitoring tool, and it notifies based on whatever string is in that event. And the system can be like, oh, we know how to fix that, and it triggers a restart, triggers a cache flush, triggers whatever it needs to do. and humans don't have to know in real time that it was done. Now, there's other cases to be made here. You might want it to collect a metric about that, right? And it says, hey, I did this. So you can track it over time. So you know from a performance standpoint that, oh, this thing is getting worse and we should have that discussion. But you don't necessarily have to pull a human away from their sleep or from their child's 5th birthday party or any of their other things in their life to respond to something when it's very simple, right? Fortunately, for those of us who rely on cloud platforms, a lot of this stuff is now built in. It's a lot easier to do now than it used to be. Things like adding capacity to services, where that happens a little bit more smoothly than making sure that some virtual machine has access to the right switch and can be added to the networking devices and all of that kind of stuff. So we've lowered the bar for some of these tasks. And we can think about them as potential things that can be automated before a disaster happens. When we get to triage, a lot of this stuff is non-invasive, and partially because some of it is done by, especially in larger organizations, is done by maybe a level 1, maybe a network operations center, or sort of folks who are on sort of shift work, who are helping us out with this stuff, right? They're the ones in charge of watching the blinking lights overnight. And they don't necessarily have the deep expertise in the systems. They know enough maybe about all the systems, right? So they're looking across a very vast network versus very deep into one particular service architecture. But these things are stuff like information gathering, tracking errors or traces, event logs, looking at all that stuff, looking at graphs and reports on the system performance. A lot of this has to do with trying to determine exactly which system is impacted and that's maybe causing an upstream impact or something like that, and figuring that out. And we can think of this too as the sort of things that if I have to call another responder, what are they going to be looking for? The first thing they're going to do, well, let me pull up my charts and graphs. Let me pull up my dashboard and see if it indicates anything that we can look at. A lot of this stuff we can do in an automated fashion so that when those responders say join our Zoom call or join our incident response chat channel, we've already have those things in there, so they don't have to go looking for them. They have to log into something. The stuff's already there waiting for them. You walk into this war room almost. The dashboards are already there. We can think about those that way. Looking at mobilization, this is where some folks stumble because it's very hard to keep up with the system of record. Who owns what, right? We know tech teams love a reorg. Like things change hands, they get moved around, the names get changed. We're not sure where something's deployed. It's because it's not necessarily our system. But if we have a dependency that's giving our system a problem, we have to be able to find out who is on call for that system. And we want to be able to do this very quickly. This is the kind of tooling that you look for maybe in a chat bot, right? Something that sits in your chat software and helps you figure out, hey, who owns this service? And it goes out and it looks in the wiki or in your configuration management database or in your RTP, whatever you're looking at, and finds that out for you so that you're not scrambling across lots of different systems. Determining who owns all that impacted stuff and placing that on call to their engineers, notifying their folks. We want that to be quick, right? We don't want to be delayed searching for information that should be at our fingertips. So doing all of that stuff, coordinating then where all these teams should meet up. I don't want to log into my Zoom interface and start a new call and then copy and paste and put it in a channel and then find another channel to coordinate and all this other stuff. I want that all to happen automatically, right? Again, another good solution for a chatbot to help you out with those kinds of things. And that kind of automation can be really helpful and flexible during incident response. Resolution is where we're going to leverage some of the stuff we've already automated, right? Because we might be doing restarts, we might be doing rollbacks, we might be orchestrating more complex restarts across multiple systems and services. And hopefully we have some of the tools to do this. These actions often require some kind of change. If we are in a place where they have to also be approved by a member of management. We want to get to a place where we have the last part there, we're mobilizing who we have to call so that we're not sitting around waiting for approval to fix something for our customers. Some of these actions can be more difficult to automate. There are going to be things that in our architecture are a little bit finicky, right? They need more complex orchestration or choreography in order to behave appropriately, and those do come up. So we want to keep that in mind as we are, figuring out, okay, which of these can we automate, and also thinking about which of these can I present to my junior engineers so that my expert doesn't have to be woken up? How can I put these together so they are more robust for my less experienced folks as I'm thinking through some of that stuff? So the green, yellow, red isn't necessarily difficulty universally. It's meant to more represent where you can think about these things might be placed. Are they harder for your organization to do? Are they maybe things you already have in place that you just want to put an interface in front of so that more engineers can run them during an incident, right? And we can be thinking about those kinds of things. For learning, these are also probably going to be sort of non-invasive. There's no changes being made, but we don't want them to be skipped. And we're not automating our post-incident process because it is difficult. We are automating it because folks like to avoid it, right? The last couple of live talks I've given, I've actually asked the question of the audience, who is running post-incident reviews? And I have wept at the lack of hands being raised. So for folks out there who are not running post-incident reviews because they are onerous or the process is too heavy, like, you want to remedy that, right? As SREs, we want to learn from all of the things that happen in the environment, and that does include the incidents that happen. And so we want to make the post-incident process as frictionless as possible. So we want to automatically create post-incident actions and tickets. We're not waiting for a review meeting next week to talk about what happened today that has to be assigned to application engineers to be fixed. We're sacrificing customer experience by doing that, right? We want to make sure things get fixed in a timely fashion. We want to schedule the review meeting. We want to create the review document. We want to assign the review teams. And if you're using like maybe an investigator model to put those together, we want those things to be automated so they don't get skipped or forgotten, or people are just like, oh, I don't want to do this. Just have it automatically flow out of the process. Incidents resolved, other assets get created. This is a good place to help to leverage AI to help you out, right? If you have coordinated an incident in some kind of conference call, deploy your AI against the transcript to be able to pull out important things that happened and leverage it that way. If you were scribing into a chat channel or you were posting links and things in there, set it against that, pull out the important information there as well. Anything that will help you and your team gather that information and learn more is going to be helpful. We don't want to get to a place where we're not doing these because they're too hard, because then we lose all that information and we risk repeating ourselves and repeating our incidents. So when we're thinking about all of this automation that we could possibly put together and the things that folks could be doing during an incident, we want to think about designing automation, not just for ourselves as SREs or as cloud operations or as infrastructure engineers or however you sit in your organization. We want to take a look at the tooling that exists across the organization, because unfortunately, the tools don't talk to each other very well, right? It's kind of notorious that security teams have like this entire suite full of acronyms of weird stuff that nobody really understands except them. But there's lots of other tools and other places that can help us out with incident response, but we don't necessarily have all the viewpoints into it, and they don't always necessarily integrate well. So we want to kind of acknowledge that, yeah, there are a lot of tools in this space that qualify as automation, and they are sequestered from each other. My sales team calls this islands of automation, right? That's how they think about it when they're talking to customers. There's lots of different teams. They have lots of different tools. It's a mix of open source and commercial software. And some of them have APIs, some of them don't have APIs, some of them have text-based configuration, some of them don't. It's all GUIs. There's just so much stuff in so many places. It makes it very hard to have one comprehensive plan for automation. So as we are looking at the things that we can potentially do to speed up our incident response, we can dig into some of these. We can talk to some other teams and say, hey, what do you have for this potential issue? Do you have something in your tooling that we can all leverage? The answer might be, we have something, but we can't license it. Like, that's a legitimate answer, but just kind of knowing where things are and knowing who is responsible for them can help you start to build a coalition of folks across your organization that can help you drive your automation forward, especially for resiliency and reliability. Because we have these issues with this stuff, right? The automation tools are often hard for non-expert users to learn. And we see this all the time, even with things that we think are simple, like infrastructure as code, right? And it helps us deploy stuff. But like application engineers, like, man, I don't care about this. I don't need to know this. But you want to make a change in production to resolve an incident, like somebody needs to know it, right? So we want to keep that at top of mind. And like I mentioned, it's hard to standardize around best practices because the tools aren't necessarily meant to hang together. And that is super difficult. So if you are an automation enthusiast, this is a place to tackle and find some tasks. And it will continue to be challenging to integrate with all of these platforms because they are so disparate and different. But there's lots of potential there. There's lots of things that can help your organization deal more confidently with incidents, which is really what we're after. We want to get to a point where our incidents are flowing more easily. So part of that means that if I'm an expert about something, I don't want to get called all the time, right? I want to put together some tooling that can stand in for me, right? Don't call Mandy, use Mandy's automation that she left for you, right? That's what I'm really after. So thinking about automation that I want to design explicitly for delegation. How do I need to put things together so that someone else who isn't me can confidently run it to accomplish the things that need to be done, especially under stress during an incident? So thinking about how your users work. If you are in a Windows environment, things need to be probably in PowerShell. If you're in a Linux environment, pick a shell that's actually supported across all of your platforms. In the past, I joined a team where one of the other sysadmins had come in from BSD. And even though we had no BSD deployed anywhere in the environment, he had written everything in the default BSD shell. And we're like, nobody knows this. It doesn't work the same as anything else that we have. Don't do that to people, right? Give them a place to have the same stuff that works for everyone. Automation is not a place to experiment with a new programming language that no one else uses. It's not a place to play with Haskell or OCaml or any of these other things that you find interesting. Automation is the place to do the most boring stuff you have ever written, because you want it to be reliable and you want it to be maintainable over time by whomever has to touch it, right? So support how your users work. Don't give them anything weird when we're talking about automation. We want to provide results that make sense. So no funny names, no shorthand, don't fall back to acronyms and things like that, or super secret internal project names or things like that. Everything needs to be as explicit as possible, because I don't know who's going to be running this in the future, right? I don't need it to bring along all of the storied history of the service. I need it to reflect reality right now in the most apparent way. I want consistency of experience. This is something that if you work in an SRE team that is responsible for things like a golden path or other kind of standardization, we want the same thing for all of these tools. Maybe you follow GNU standards and everything has double dashes in front of the option names. Everything has a help on it. Maybe it has a man page. Like any of those kinds of things are going to help folks adapt to the whole process and be more comfortable with the things you're providing them. And then again, include documentation in context, whether that means a man page or help page or whatever your mechanism is, just making sure that folks can find it when they're under pressure, right? Having an incident, people are on edge. We want things to get done as quickly as possible. What the last thing I want to hear when I'm on an incident call is like, I have this script, but I don't know how to use it. No, wrong answer. We want it to be usable by everybody. So if this sounds like software design, that's intentional. It is software and you do need to design it. And I'm as guilty of this as anybody else. Like when I'm writing for myself, it's sloppy, right? It's messy and it does stuff that only I understand. But when I want someone else to be able to leverage my knowledge in my place so I can stay in bed, I need to reframe how I'm writing things and how I'm putting things together for those teams. So keep that in mind. Some other stuff that comes to mind when we are designing this kind of software, I've pulled this list from Lee Atchison's Architecting for Scale, another really good book if you haven't read it yet. We want things to be testable. Like I mentioned before, like something your juniors can do is make sure the regression tests for all the automation continues to work as the software gets redeployed. Like starting and stopping the service, the obvious ones, clearing out cache or temporary files, making sure the resources are, whatever you're doing, making sure that everything is testable. And it needs to be flexible and implemented for future improvement. So we're not hard coding version numbers and all of that kind of stuff. They are variables. Maybe we pass them on the command line. We're helping ourselves out there. We want it to be reviewable and under version control. So if you are hosting things in Git, that's where the automation lives as well. We shouldn't have to go to some other service or some other system to find it. In the past, again, we could be really sloppy. It lived in a directory on a jump box somewhere. And you're like looking at the things and you're like, do this.sh. Great, that's not helpful. What was worse was there was a do this.back or do this.do not use or do this.broken. And you have no idea what any of that stuff is. So clarity is helpful there. Version control is going to help with that. Make sure it's under version control. We want it to be applicable to related resources and not a one-off. And this can be difficult in large organizations. I worked with a customer in the past where there are a number of different teams all targeting Tomcat as their platform, but everybody was allowed to compile their own Tomcat. So even something as simple as the start script didn't work between different teams. We don't want to see that, right? Especially if we're working on an incident, right? We don't want somebody to have to know that, oh, that weird system over there in the corner, you have to run this special thing for. Make things as standardized as possible. We also want it to be repeatable and auditable. So if you do live or work in an organization where every action on production has to be audited, we put that into our automation as well. We drop it into a log somewhere, we write it to some kind of metric, whatever it is. We need to be aware of that and participate in that function. Okay, so just briefly before I wrap up, language gets muddled around automation versus AI, right? Is automation AI? No. Is AI automation? Sometimes, but some things to keep in mind. AI, yes, can help you build automation, and it's going to help you with automated processes, especially as agentic AI gets more popular and more robust. There will be things in your incident response process that you will want to push to agents, right? A lot of that post-incident review process, because it is natural language, because you are hopefully producing a document, you can lean on AI for. A lot of the other things that we do, straight up automation is what we want, and not something that is going to be a little bit unpredictable, right? The thing for dealing with automation is we want that repeatability, right? I want to press the button and have the same action take place every time. There will be a time sometime in the future where we'll see more things about self-healing and more potential there. That's going to be very difficult, if only because of the infinite number of combinations of software we can have in production. It's going to be very, very hard to train up anything that can help us with that. So thinking about that far in the future, maybe where we are right now, much more limited. So thinking about automation as our deterministic workflow, right? That is where we are. We want the same thing to happen every time we push it. That's where we are. That makes it different from AI, right? I have inputs A, B, and C. They go through my automation black box. They produce the output. Number one, every time I do that with A, B, and C, output one always happens. Start scripts, always start the thing. Cache clearing, always clears the cache. I don't want it to do anything weird because it's decided that the newest version of that software has a different application for it. We may not have upgraded yet, so I don't want it going out to the internet looking for new information. I want it to work exactly as I've written it. Because the next time I run my automation with inputs D, E, and F, I'm expecting it to give me output too, right? So I have different kinds of inputs. I want them to always give me the designated outputs. So keep that in mind. There are going to be places where you will be able to use AI for stuff, just depending on how your systems are deployed. So in summary, what do I want out of automation for incident response as an SRE? Number one, I don't want to be called. That's the big one, right? Our SRE teams tend to be small. There's lots of other folks that can help us out here. We're going to treat automation as our first responder as often as possible. That event gets triggered, automation does the first loop of whatever that triage looks like in our organization and helps us out there and hopefully prevents a whole bunch of things from coming to our human responders. When we do get humans involved, we want to help fix it fast. I want to alleviate confusion in what are often stressful situations because our users can't get to the thing, right? So making sure that we have the tools that we need for stressful situations. And then we want to make things very, very easy, right? I don't want everybody to have my intricate expertise on my weird automation. I want it to be easy. I want it to be boring. It should have predictable interfaces. It's the stuff that we use every day, and we also deploy it for incident response. So folks are familiar with it. They should never get on the call and say, I have this script, but I don't know how to use it, right? We want them to know how to use it. So some resources for you. If you like to know more about PagerDuty, we're at pagerduty.com. We have a platform that addresses a lot of these automation things. It's called Rundeck. You can take a look at that. We have a white paper available at autoremediation.pagerduty.com. If you'd like to learn more or read through that, it's available. And we have a launch coming up where we address some things that we've been thinking about in this space as far as agentic AI and generative AI, and we'll be looking forward to your feedback on that. So thank you very much for your attention. As I said, I'm LNXCHK in various places. You can get in touch with me there.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mandy, for such an amazing and informative session. I'm sure this is going to help all our participants who joined us today. So we'll quickly jump into Q&A. I can see we got one question from Ahmad. So he's asking, how do we measure and control the long-term reliability depth introduced by automation?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? And some of it is vibes, right? Like that's the hard part is it giving you the stuff that you need? You can do more stringent ROI on automation if you'd like to. There are rubrics for following along, like how much time is saved for specific tasks. And you can actually do that math if you want to, or if you have a need to in your organization. So you can say, I have tasks A, B, C, and D. They take me this amount of time. I have to do them this many times in a week. Like there are, there's that kind of thing there. That gives you a baseline for how much you want to invest then in maintaining those things. If I need to maintain them an hour every month or an hour every quarter, but I'm getting 6 hours a week of work out of them, that's absolutely worth it. There are places where you'll have something that's very complicated that it takes more maintenance for that automation than maybe it's worth. But you want to do that math to establish your baseline to be able to say, yes, it is saving me this amount of time for this time period, and this is how much time we dedicate to maintaining it. So the balance is looks like XYZ. But yeah, it's a really good question for sure.
Thank you very much for answering that, Mandy. I can see the next question we have got from Mikaela asking, how do you integrate automated runbooks with CI/CD pipelines for real-time resiliency validation?
That's an interesting one. Some of them kind of works better than others. Some of them you can actually use if you are encoding your runbook into like a shell script or maybe Python or something else that your CI/CD understands. You can actually have it as a validation step as part of the pipeline, and that's a really good approach to have if your tools support it. Some of them do, some of them don't, just kind of depends. But it will give you often at least that baseline for start, stop, resources checking, things like that. But yeah, definitely want to try and put them into your CI/CD if you can.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mandy. I can see another question we have got from Mikaela again. What techniques validate automated remediation in highly distributed multi-cloud systems?
Oh, say that again. There's a lot there.
What techniques validate automated remediation in highly distributed multi-cloud systems?
Yeah, okay. That's absolutely going to depend on what you've got deployed. Some stuff's going to be obvious, right? As you are looking at, distributed systems that are loosely coupled. It's going to be obvious as things get fixed when you've got automated remediation there. So, if you've got systems that will automatically reconnect after something's been restarted, the value there is super easy and things are fairly easy to plug back in. If you have more tightly coupled systems or things that don't automatically reconnect, the orchestration of that stuff can be more difficult and you'd want to really sit down and take a look at it. But will help you figure out those relationships. As far as things like just validating that stuff works, that becomes part of your integration phase usually for your build process. As the software goes into an integration environment, hopefully you have one that looks sort of like production. You can test all of that stuff across. And as you're working on some of that stuff, like making sure you're pointing out, yeah, we have this system that when I have to restart the backend for a problem, the middle layer doesn't automatically reconnect. You have to be aware of all of that kind of stuff as you're deploying these systems. Hopefully that becomes apparent in development. Sometimes we don't learn that stuff until we get to production with it. And then we have to scramble a little bit and figure it out and sort of retrofit. I have definitely worked in environments where like we didn't know it wasn't going to reconnect. But yeah, making sure that you have all of that stuff documented, because then you can work through that whole process. As far as like validating other kinds of stuff for auto remediation, what we see across the industry is that a lot of this stuff is going to be the basics, right? It's going to be a system restart, in which case it's apparent that it did restart and it's returning to hundreds, right? Like whatever the status checker page is, we know that it's still okay. It clears the monitor, right? Especially if you're using something that's pretty robust for your monitoring, that's able to hit a custom status page that's maybe flexing some code that talks to background dependencies. So having a pretty sophisticated monitoring system is all part of making sure that your automated remediation is working appropriately, because you'll be able to exercise that code and ping those systems and be able to say, yes, it's working appropriately. So you want to make sure that you have all of that in place as well, so that if you do have to restart something, we know that it has come up. So it's really a multi-pronged process across that entire workflow. You want to make sure that you've got robust monitoring on your systems and that it's apparent to the monitoring system something's been recovered and it can pick that up for you, as you don't want it to continue to alert after something's been repaired.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mandy, for answering that one. It has been greatly answered by you. And I hope that's answer your question, Mikaela. So we'll take this question as a last question for today, in case if I miss any question, or if you have any question in your mind, feel free to reach out to our speaker. I've already shared her LinkedIn profile link in the chat box. So I believe she's more than happy to help you all. So yes, we'll be taking this question. We have got it from live. So Erika is asking, how do you ensure automated actions are safe and don't accidentally escalate an incident further?
Yeah, right. Like, and that is a big fear that a lot of folks have about automation in general. Like, when you're sitting there as a human being and watching it, and like a million times it works fine, and then like one time it does something weird, and people are frightful that it's going to do something weird when you're in an incident. But the kind of pat answer is that like a lot of this stuff we already have. We're already using it pretty often. And we just want to get it deployed to a part where I don't have to be as a human sitting there in the middle of it. We do want to make sure that the automation that we're putting together is providing information to us, right? So if it does fail, it should allow you to, it should have some log somewhere. It maybe reports to your monitoring software that it succeeded or that it failed. It's dropping diagnostics or stack traces, or maybe it's making copies of the service logs into another place so that you have them. And thinking about that in a sort of 360 view of what the service is and how it behaves and the action that you want to take against it in an automated way. What do you need to preserve almost forensically, right? To figure out, okay, this service failed and we had the automatic restart, but we still want to know what happened there in case something goes wrong in the future. And then part of it too is part of the life cycle. We do want to continue to test things against the systems as we are making updates to the automation. And unfortunately, we see folks not have the resources to do this as much as they should, where the application engineers want to be able to do all their upgrades, right? They've got approval for the new library, a new version of the runtime, but it changes all their options. It changes the profile of how the system performs. And then we have to scramble to catch up with how we make sure that all of our stuff still works. And that does take resources. So if you're in a place where you don't have the time or resources to keep up with all that, you want to have a conversation with your manager so that all of this comes down to saving human time, right? That's what they're paying the big bucks for, is the human beings. The automation ends up being very cheap over time. And so you want to make that investment to free up the human beings and do that work in advance as much as possible.
Thank you very much, Wendy, for such a detailed explanation. Thank you very much for answering all the question. So as we have already done with the scheduled time for the Q&A, actually we are running out of it. So I'm extremely sorry if I miss any question. Please do reach out to our speaker today for any help that you need regarding your questions. So before I move further, would love to hear final thoughts from you, Mandy, for all of our participants who are present today here.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, it's a lot to think about, especially if you are new to SRE, or maybe you're new to an organization and you're not sure what they're working on. It's just a lot of stuff that can potentially go into all of this. And I want you to just keep the goals in mind, right? We know on-call and production response is part of our SRE job in a lot of places. We want to make that as stress-free as possible for as many folks as possible. So we have want to take some time to invest in the tools that will help us do that. So hopefully everyone has some time to investigate some automation solutions and invest in some of those things so you can stay in bed when something bad happens.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful suggestion and thoughts shared by you. Thank you very much, Mandy. And we'll be definitely reaching out to you again for any future session that aligns with your expertise. So I hope to see you again. Thank you so much. So would love to tell all the participants that I do have some great announcement for all of you. So this is regarding the certification, today's featured session that we had regarding elevating DevOps, DevSecOps, and SRE for next generation reliability. You can opt out for any of the certification, Certified Site Reliability Engineering Foundation, Certified DevOps Foundation, DevSecOps Foundation, or DevOps Practitioner. We do have this certification. I've already shared all the links in the chat box. You can check it out. As you all know that these certifications are lifetime validated certification, which comes along with the learning resources where you'll be getting a lot of case studies to work on, e-learnings and book of knowledge. Also, these certifications are lifelong learnings, which gives you a flexibility, and you'll be getting an opportunity to work on a capstone project, that is real-time AI simulation practice. And also you'll be getting chance to connect with our training partner channel to check all the training programs that they do have. So do grab this opportunity. You can use this promo code, which is DevOps20, to get an amazing discount on it. You'll find the details in the chat box. Also, would love to tell you all the new concept that GSDC introduced earlier. This is utility tool. This tool will help you to improve your LinkedIn profile score, your skill score, and also will help you to build your personal brand. So do grab this opportunity as well. I've already shared the link in the chat box. You can use this code, which is August 1000 to get amazing discount, like absolutely 100% off. And this is only for our webinar attendees. So grab this opportunity. And also, it's lovely to inform you all, tomorrow we'll be having the last session of this entire webinar series, and we'll be having Daniel Murphy with us, and he'll be presenting the topic that is AI-driven transformation in SRE and cloud engineering. Do not miss this. This will be scheduled on the same time slot, that is 8:30 a.m. Central and 9:30 p.m. Singapore time. I hope to see you all for the last session. Also, you must be aware that we are running this AI tool challenge for 28 days, out of which you have already completed 16 challenges, and today we'll be having the 17th one. So please do join us. This is started from 18 August with a time slot that is 10:30 a.m. Central. So we'll be starting a session exact after 30 minutes. So please do join us for this, as we do have this incredible panel of AI expert who will be giving a practical walkthroughs and live demo sessions on the AI tool. So do join us for the remaining sessions and challenges as well. Also, you can refer your friends and colleagues to our session, and by doing that, you can earn rewards that is worth $400. And remember one thing, sharing referrals and referring people to our session, knowledgeable sessions, you're already taking a step ahead to become a thoughtful leader, and you are enhancing your credibility by doing that. And guess what? Top 3 winners will be featured on the GSDC Wall of Fame, and we'll be getting back to them for the rewards that GSDC has for them. Also, congratulations to all these 3 winners who have referred maximum people to our session, and they have topped at our leaderboard by referring many people to our session. If you would like to see how the leaderboard looks like, I'll just quickly want to show you. Just give me a minute so I can show you all, where you can check your points, how much points that you have earned so far by referring people to our session. So what you have to do, you just have to go to our event web page. I hope my screen is visible to you all. So this is our event web page. You can access this through our website. You just have to scroll down a little bit. Here you'll able to find the search bar where you can search your name. So as you can see, the Rakesh is on top right now, and after that Amit and Jay. So please do refer maximum people. You know the benefits of it. You'll be getting a reward that is worth $400. So refer maximum people. So coming back to the main slide. Here we are. So we do have these 3 winners. I would love to congratulate to them, and we'll be getting back to you with for the rewards. And we'll be announcing the final winners at the end of this webinar series. So you still have a time to refer and be a winner. Also, if you want to be a speaker for our upcoming events as a featured global speaker, yes, of course, you can reach out to us, as we do have platforms like Learning Capsule, webinars, and the podcast. Also, would love to connect with you all. You can scan this QR to get in touch with over the LinkedIn. Also, you can explore our website, that is www.gsdcouncil.org, to check all the offerings that we do have. Also, you can connect with us over the WhatsApp group to check daily update on the events and webinars that we do have, also boot camps. And do not forget to share your session takeaway. On the learning outcomes, I've already shared the Trustpilot link in the chat box. Please do share your learning outcomes. Thank you very much for joining today's session. I'm so grateful for all of you who have joined us today. And thank you very much, Mandy, for joining us. I hope to see you all for the upcoming sessions as well. Until then, keep learning. Take care. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.